that starts to attract the perfect person into your life. If you're running a business, by the way, and you need an employee, this is what I do, is I write down a clear description of the perfect person. One day I needed a person to head up marketing for part of my business, and I wrote down 38 things that I wanted in that person. And 2 weeks later, somebody called me out of the clear blue sky that I never met before in my life, and he said, I'd like to come to work for you. And he came in. I was going to give him about 30 minutes to talk to him, to be polite. Spent 3 hours talking to him. He came and worked for me for a year. And after 3 months, I took out the list and showed him he had every single quality on the list. He was literally perfect. Plus, he had other special qualities I didn't even know about. Remarkable experience. Write it down. Be clear. Remember, if it's not written down, it's not a goal. Only 3% of adults have written goals, and everybody works for them. Now, number 4, once you've written down the goal, you've decided the date, you've decided what you want, and so on. Number 4 is you identify the obstacles that you'll have to overcome to achieve that goal. You start off by asking yourself this question: why aren't I already at my goal? Why haven't I already achieved my goals? Sometimes people will have a financial goal. They say, well, I'm not making enough money. Well, is that true? There are a lot of self-made millionaires that never made more than $30,000 or $40,000 a year in their whole lives, yet they became millionaires. Maybe it's not that you're not earning enough money. Maybe it's that you're spending everything you make and a little bit more besides, which is a real shock to people. Do you know that the average self-made millionaire saves 15 to 20% of their income throughout their working life? And they adjust all of their life around that, and they live on the other 80 or 85%? And when you start with that, the way you do is you start off saving 1% and living on 99%. And when you get comfortable with that, you save 2%, you live on 98%. You develop a habit of living on less than you earn. And pretty soon, within a year, 2 years, you'll be saving 15 to 20% of your income, and you won't affect your lifestyle at all. And your bank account will start to grow, and your confidence will go up, and you'll develop this tremendous feeling of personal power that you can accomplish anything, and opportunities to invest. The money will open up for you, and a week, a month, a year, 5, 10 years later, you're financially independent, and everybody says, boy, you sure were lucky. It wasn't luck at all. So, what are the obstacles that you have to overcome between here and your goal? And this brings us to what we call the theory of constraints. In the theory of constraints, you say of all the obstacles that you have to overcome, what is the main obstacle? What's the constraint? What's the choke point? What's holding you back? What sets the speed at which you achieve your goal? What's your limiting factor in achieving your goal? Now, what I've found is that the 80-20 rule applies to constraints. It says that it says that 80% of all the constraints that are holding you back are inside yourself. Only 20% are on the outside. What is it that average or mediocre people do? Mediocre people always blame their problems on someone or something on the outside. What do superior people do? Superior people look into themselves and they say, what is it in me that's holding me back? Is it a skill that you need? Is it a quality of time management or self-discipline? Is it more energy that you need? Is it better health habits? Is it harder work? Is it greater focus? What is it in you that's holding you back? And 80% of the time, your major constraint, the limiting factor on your achieving the goal, lies within yourself and is under your control. So identify the obstacles and identify the main obstacle. What's the main obstacle that's holding me back? And then concentrate single-mindedly on alleviating that main constraint. Focus intensely like a laser beam to break that lock, the one thing that's holding you back more than anything else. Now, step number 5 in goal achieving is to identify the knowledge, the information, and skills that you will need to get into the top 10% of your field. What skills will you need in order to achieve your goals? Remember, as I said before, to achieve something you've never achieved before, you have to become someone that you've never been before. You have to then ask yourself, what one skill of all the skills that you could develop would help you the most to achieve your goal? What one skill, if you were absolutely excellent at it, would have the greatest positive impact on your life? You see, what we have found is that your weakest important skill, your weakest key skill, sets the height of your income in every part of your life. Your weakest key skill is the one that is the brake, the sea anchor that holds you back. And concentrating on bringing up that one skill, the one thing that's holding you back, prospecting, presenting, closing, negotiating, speaking, planning, organizing, whatever it happens to be, it's a skill that you can learn, because all skills are learnable. All business skills are learnable. And you can learn any business skill you need to learn to achieve any goal you can set for yourself. So, once you have a goal, You step back and you say, all right, what are the most important skills and bodies of knowledge I will need to achieve the goal? And it may take you a week, a month, a year, or even 5 years to develop those skills. Do you know it takes 7 years to master a craft? It takes 7 years of hard work in any field, from sales to mechanics to neurosurgery, to get into the top 10%. But once you get into the top 10%, you become one of the highest paid people in the world. And if it's going to take you a long time to get into the top 10%, when would be a good time to start? And you start working on the one skill that can help you the most. And once you've mastered that one skill, then what do you do? Then you ask that same question again. Now, what one skill will help me the most? And you become a lifelong do-it-to-yourself project. For the rest of your life, you keep identifying the one skill that can help you the most, and you write it down, and you make a plan, and you work on it every day. If you'll do this and get better and better and better at achieving your goal, the wonderful discovery is that once you've learned a skill, which is hard, you can use it over and over again. And every time you use it, you get better at it. And every time you get better at it, it takes you less time to get the same level of results. And that is the reason why some people achieve so much. Is they learn a skill, which is hard, they work on it over and over again, they get better and better, and achieve better and better results in less and less time. And you can do the same. Okay, step number 6. Identify the people whose help and cooperation you will require in order to achieve your goals. Identify the people in your family that you will need. Interestingly enough, in order to achieve great goals, sometimes you have to throw your whole heart into those goals. You have to work really, really hard in order to accomplish success. And you have to engage in what are called deliberate extremes, where you work night and day. You work morning, noon, and night, and 7 days a week, and sometimes for several months. And you have to explain this to your family in advance so that your family understands what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you have to get their help and cooperation to back you up until you finally get over the hump, and then you can take and make it up to them with extended vacations and other things. Identify the boss, the people that you work with whose help you will require. Especially if you're in business, identify the customers whose help you will require. Peter Drucker had a great observation. He said the only profit center in a business is the customer. And the whole purpose of a business is to satisfy customers. And so if you want to achieve anything worthwhile financially, you're going to have to satisfy lots of customers. So what you have to do is you have to identify those customers, say who are they, and then you have to throw your whole heart into satisfying those customers better than anybody else. So who are your ideal customers? What do they need to be satisfied and happy? What can you do that makes you superior to your competition? What is your unique selling proposition? What is your competitive advantage? What is your area of excellence? What is it that you can do that will make people select you rather than anyone else to buy from and do business with? That is the key to success in sales, and it's the key to success in business. Always ask the question, what's in it for them? What do they get for helping me to achieve my goals? What can I give them? And as Napoleon Hill said, be a go-giver rather than a go-getter. Look for ways to help other people to improve their lives and work. And as Zig Ziglar said, you're going to have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. So whose people and cooperation will you need? Make a list of all the people whose help you'll need, and then ask yourself, what can I do to deserve their help? What can I do to make them want to help me in every way? So that's number 6. Step number 7 is now you have all the ingredients you need, so you make a list of everything you will have to do. And you add to the list as you think of new things. You make a list of every obstacle you'll have to overcome. You make a list of all the knowledge and skills that you'll have to acquire and organize them by priority. You make a list of all the people whose help and cooperation you'll require, and then finish up this list and you keep adding to the list. By the way, I've had this conversation with many people who are single, and they say, well, how do I meet the ideal person for me? And I say, what you do is you set it as a goal to meet the perfect person. And you make a list of every single ingredient or quality that that perfect person would have. And it'll end up 10, 20, 30. I spoke to a very intelligent young woman the other day, and I gave her this advice. 3 days later, when I saw her again, she said, my list is up to 51 points. 51 qualities I want in the ideal person. And she was completely transformed. She'd been alone for a long time. She'd gone out with jerks, with most women know about. As men, we don't know about that, but women know about the jerks that are out there. And